Okay, it is 10:01 and I'm calling this meeting of the Transportation Committee to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chaplin. Here. Covert. Here. Evans. Here. Ozog.
Here.
Tornatore.
Here.
Zay.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Today I would like to welcome, we have students in the corner from, would you like to take it?
Sure.
Member
I have
Evans?
students here from Hinsdale Central High School. Their AP government teacher is Chris Wilbur, and he has them. He has a project called Politics in Action, where they have to shadow someone involved in politics for 8 hours, and this is part of their 8 hours.
Oh, great. Well, welcome to our committee. Okay.
Make sure Member Evans takes you to lunch though.
I treat them to lunch.
Take care of the kids.
Okay, welcome. Do we have any public comment today? No? Okay. Next, I move for approval of the minutes from our March 7th, 2023 meeting. Okay, I moved Member Chaplin's second.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Any comments or questions about the minutes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next, I move for approval of GTP 005523.
Second.
Recommendation for the approval of contract purchase order to Al Warren Oil Company to furnish and deliver gasoline and diesel fuel as needed for the Division of Transportation and Public Works for period April 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024 for a contract total not to exceed $1,750,000. Division of Transportation $1 million and Public Works $750,000. And this is also it will be up for 3 one-year renewals. I have a second.
Yes.
Any comments or questions on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, next I move for approval of 231160 DTR 0283A21 amendment to resolution DTR 028321 issued to H&H Electric Company for a traffic signal uninterrupted power study and communication upgrades. Section 21 to increase the funding in the amount of $18,559.98. Amended contract total amount of $796,228.10. I have a second. Any comments or questions about this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up, I move for approval of 231161, amendment to resolution DTR 033621 issued to Thorn Electric for traffic signal improvements along County Highway 23, Gary Avenue at St. Charles Road to Geneva Road, Section 21, to increase the funding in the amount of $59,701.76, resulting in an amended contract amount of $875,562.33. I have a second. Any comments or questions? Member Evans.
Oh, yes. Was this something, this change order, were the quantities, it said that the quantities were off. Was that something that was found in the field afterwards?
I'm going to say yes, and I'm also going to turn it over to Assistant County Engineer Bill Edson.
Most of it was stuff that was found in the field afterwards. There were, this had a reference to the electric services. That was an issue that came up when we started coordinating with ComEd. So I mean, it was a deviation from the plan, obviously, but yeah, most of these were a conduit routing, and existing conduit routing was different than what was inspected, things like that.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, I next move for approval of DTR 005723, an awarding resolution issued to Superior Road Striping for the 2023 pavement marking maintenance program for an estimated county cost of $495,624.95 per low bid. Second. Any comments or questions about this?
At least they're superior. They're not average or moderate. So that's good.
The traffic control is superior.
Indeed. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, I move for approval of 231162, U.S. Community Project Fund, Belmont Road, Finley Road, and Cross Street at U.S. Route 34 Ogden Avenue intersection improvements. United States Department of Transportation, $1,200,000. I have a second. Second from member
All I can
Torrentori.
say is thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments or questions about this project besides thank you from member Chapman?
Long overdue.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I next move for approval of 231163, U.S. Community Project Fund, Naperville Road and Roosevelt Road, intersection improvements, United States Department of Transportation, $800,000.
Second.
I have a second from member Chaplin, and any other comments or questions about this project? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, now we have two informational items. I move for approval of FMP 005223, recommendation of approval of a contract to AMP Grease Trappers for sanitary grease trap and storm basin pumping, jetting, and cleaning as needed for the county campus for facilities management for the period April 4th, 2023 through April 13th, 2024. Total contract not to exceed $82,950 per renewal option, second option to renew. And Department of Transportation has a $17,550 part of this contract. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And next, for information, move for approval of 231164, vehicle replacement purchase order for the Division of Transportation. FY23, FY24 has been issued through Friendly Ford in the amount of $57,230.
Second.
Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And I have a question about this one. Are we still in a real dearth of available vehicles?
Yes, the co-ops are, nothing's available. And this is actually a vehicle where it was going to be, I believe, a Ford Explorer or a larger vehicle. But based on the availability and the timeline to get those, we were able to switch it out with the transit van. It's used specifically to move our storm sewer camera around the county. And so it's probably better overall, but we're still in the situation that the long lead times and the availability of cooperatives don't exist. So we are still looking at sourcing them locally, if you will, based on getting some quotes from vendors that have available vehicles on site and for me to pick up.
Okay.
That's what this one is.
Okay. Eventually we'll come out of this. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, any old business? Any old business? Okay. Mr. Snyder.
So,
Oh, so anxious.
so as many of us know, last week, the Surface Transportation Board did approve the merger of the Canadian Pacific and Kansas City Southern Railroad. As you know, a year plus ago, right about this time, DuPage County did join the coalition of 8 communities to oppose the merger as proposed. The merger that was approved by the STB will add 8 additional freight trains to the Milwaukee District West line each day. These are 10,000 feet long. So that equates to about 15 miles of train length every day going through the communities. We didn't get what we wanted. We asked for mitigation measures and those were not granted by the STB. What was concerning to us watching that press conference is the response by the chairman of the STB, not response, but a statement that in reference to the derailments in Ohio, something to the effect that safety is not their purview. And so that's the FRA. So that was a little bit concerning. He did come back and indicate that he understands, we were actually called out, the coalition reference, that if the merger as the applicants submitted, in fact, the reality is much different, the STB will go back or will step in, and that has precedent. They've done that actually here in the Chicagoland area on occasion. So that was good. We are assessing our next steps, whether we want to appeal the decision. And so that's under review right now by the coalition members, as well as we are actively watching and monitoring congressional call for hearings on safety. As a matter of fact, I understand that Ohio has introduced 2 bills potentially dealing with safety. So we'll work with the federal lobbyists to get that information. The one thing we are doing is that the coalition will be actively monitoring actively reviewing in depth both the application, the STB ruling, and comparing actual conditions in the field to what the applicant said. There is a 7-year monitoring period, and we're going to hold the STB and the CP Railroad accountable. So that's my update.
And do they also, if I recall, add a community contact that people can call?
Yes. So we're interested and we're anxious to meet this community liaison to us. That will hopefully be the conduit by which we can ensure that there were some voluntary mitigation measures that they are required to do.
That was one of
Kind
them.
of like active warning, or hey, the gate is closed at Prospect. Use alternate route 53, for example. There's going to be something, maybe that's too sophisticated, but something advising both emergency responders and general commuters of a blocked crossing or a downed gate. And so hopefully they're supposed to install and pay for these. So those are things that we'll be monitoring and looking forward to working with them to get those installed ASAP.
Okay. Member Chapman.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for that update, Chris. It's very important. So the FRA you mentioned is responsible for safety on the railway. So my suggestion might be to maybe we, the coalition start working with the FRA as well, reach out to FRA with those that you probably already are doing it, but that was a group I know with the Railroad Safety Council that, we'd have present at our biannual conference. As member Ozak mentioned, we know this, the railroads are so powerful, right? They're probably one of the most powerful industries in the country. They have a lot of sway. It's hard to, they usually get what they want. So just continue, I would just, say continue to work with them through the coalition to try to maybe have them implement some of the mitigations and, see what we can do with the FRA if they can, maybe help us with some of the safety concerns.
What'll be interesting to see is at the federal level, what's coming out of Ohio. The fact that there is a disconnect between the Surface Transportation Board and the FRA is a little concerning. That one does safety, one does commerce, and they don't seem to be aligned. So that's something that working through our congressional delegation has been extremely engaged in this process, sending multiple letters to the STB. Unfortunately, those letters.
And maybe we can add this into our federal legislative agenda. So, I don't know if it's in there, but railroad, like safety or working to make, something along those lines so that they are sure to address it.
I can bring that up with Cheryl and
Yeah.
member.
And just, yeah.
And I want to thank Chris and the team for everything they did. Chris was in Washington last fall testifying, and Sam has been involved in this, and we told them as much as we could, and we'll see what happens. I don't have a huge amount of faith about the community liaison. I live right next to Union Pacific, and one weekend about 10 years ago, a train was parked next to my house running with nobody in it. And I called Omaha 3 times and they told me there was no train there. And it was really concerning because I think I saw a train, but I was told there was no train. So this is again, and I'll levity aside, it's really concerning because the railroads rule. And those of us who have to live around, especially in this region where almost everything is at grade, it's a very challenging situation. So we'll try to hold them as accountable as we can. But thank you for your work.
I think we have a different, like you kind of triggered something. If you don't mind. I have a question. Is there any talk about having the railroads communicate with any kind of mapping software? So if we know,
I was thinking the exact same thing.
see, like if we
Our
knew.
phones are mapped. Like
I was
they
gonna
map
pick up
the
my kid
trains.
from school and there's a, 5-mile train going through. I'd love to know that so I can know to leave early. If we know that a train's coming from 20 miles away, it gives us a heads up. Is there any talk about that?
I've not heard anything. It would be ideal, but when you hear about what's going on in Ohio, it appears to be difficult for them to keep their wheels grinded properly. So
I do know we got an inquiry from member Rutledge through a resident wanting to know, what's the resource for us to find out what's going through our communities. So I reached out to the ICC. The railroads are very quiet about what they're carrying through your communities. And I suspect if you did a mapping function, they would be concerned. And others might raise concern about knowing that a large train is coming through a community could be a source of nefarious activity. So I think having the technology to say that, hey, this crossing is blocked would be helpful to, your daily commute, taking your children to school or soccer or work.
And that could possibly come from municipalities too, where it's not, whatever the guidepost system is not installed on railroad property. Big problem.
I think Member brings a good point though, like when there's a weather advisory, it'll pop up on your phone or up on your nav. I mean, same thing. It could pop up that says, block crossing at Irving Park or wherever, it might be at that. I mean, that
Without
could be,
compromising.
yeah, without
what's
compromising
actually
safety. It's
on
more of
the train,
a map
so.
function that's saying that, hey, that's blocked right now.
Then you'll be able to prove to Omaha, no, it's on my phone.
Again, all
Those are good
kidding
questions.
aside, they literally told me there was no train there. And that's a security issue because this train was empty and filled with something behind it. So here we are. So,
Yeah.
but it's a concern.
It's a good point, because they were talking IT and they were talking about technology that would advise somehow that
Yeah.
crossings are blocked. So
This is
whether it's
not
on
out
your
of the
iPhone or
road.
whether it's, a sign that when you get to the crossing, it's clear that it's closed or blocked. But that's a good point. We'll raise that.
Member Guston.
And to piggyback on that, like Naperville has neighbor notify, so
Right.
everybody that signs up for it
Yeah.
gets notified that there's an accident or there's this or there's that. So it can be done, they just have to provide the information.
Yeah, and that's already.
Well, if Naperville
Already
did it,
set up.
then it's gotta be.
It's gotta
Oh,
be.
stop it.
Yeah.
It's just that they're so big, that's all.
You probably fax it to everybody.
Not that, no, no.
Facts.
Well, there's a lot of options, where you have, on Winfield Road where, it says, when that light is, caution, you stop. I mean, this could be a couple blocks away where it's a flashing signal at a railroad saying, crossing being used or whatever, something that could give people, I mean, like I said, before you pull up in traffic and you're stuck there for 2 hours, half a mile away where you can get to a different route and go a different way would help.
Yeah, like on the expressway with the signs. That's the closest.
And Sam's there. I think it's something Sam, the vice chairman, should do. I'm thinking.
He's drawn right now, he's.
He's right stuff down.
And I appreciate that, Sam. Thank you.
Anything
Okay, thank you for that update. And do we have any new business?
We do.
Yes.
Gonna ask that John Loper give an update on O'Hare noise. I know that came up at board last week on response to public comment. So John's gonna give an update on kind of O'Hare noise 101 for the new committee members and new members, as well as talk about the recent information that came out regarding the expanded 65 decibel noise contour.
Thank you, committee.
You should have everything. You should all have something fun.
Yes, presentation is about it. It takes long. We'll try to move through there. I think it's executive session. So yes, Chris mentioned Mr. Dwyer's communications with county board through commentary last week. He's also been in touch, I believe, with Sam as well, and a number of other county board members in District 1. He is a resident of Medina, and as Jim has probably mentioned a couple dozen times, the residents of Roselle and Medina and Bartlett are also suffering some of the same noise impacts that Itasca, Wooddale, and Bentonville are. So kind of heading into this, O'Hare modernization, the next page, basically it was kicked off in 2005. The airport layout converted principally to an east-west orientation. At that point, our last runways were commissioned in 2021. The diagonal runways that took a lot of flights out over the Elk Grove Industrial Park were decommissioned in the process of that airport layout renovation. There were 2 added outboard runways, which are the very far north and the very far south, that were commissioned early on in the process. Those are really only daytime runways. Those are ones that are used sparingly with much smaller aircraft. So the ones that we're really looking at are the ones that are mostly the inboard runways that are closest to the terminals. That are the longer, the wider runways presently. Next slide, please. So what we're really interested in is really the noise basis for what's going on. In 2005, under the O'Hare Modernization Program, they conducted an environmental impact statement. And in that, they estimated the impacts of the revised airport layout on noise contours all around the airport, including DuPage County, Cook County wards, and Northwest Suburban Cook. So the models are informed by quite a number of different things, including the air traffic volume, the fleet mix, so smaller planes versus heavier planes, prevailing movements, and that is which runways are utilized most, what the weather conditions are, and so on and so forth. The contours that are generated reflect a 24-hour average noise on the ground. So 65 decibels is a threshold that FAA holds to for noise remediation and mitigation. 65 decibels is similar to about a normal conversation 2 feet apart between two people. So if you can imagine that there are that number of planes crossing over Itasca is sufficient to cause 65 decibel background noise on the ground throughout the day. That's quite a statement. So on the right hand side of that slide, there's some indicators of what of some of the numbers that were used for the new noise contours that were generated this year. So they're looking at 3,000 daily operations in beginning in the build out plus 5, so 2025, 2026. That's over 1 million annual operations. 60% of those aircraft are over 100 seats, and so that the fleet mix is getting larger. We're not seeing as many smaller aircraft today as you're seeing as larger. But they're trying to get as many 200-seat aircraft into the airport as possible. Plus, you're also seeing a large annual increase in the amount of air cargo traffic. So those air cargo planes are larger by nature. Next slide, please. Well, the OMP.
Okay, we're not getting our slides.
There's no clicker.
Yeah, that's
You can tell us.
I can walk around and flip it for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, which
So-
page are we?
So we are on 4 presently.
4, okay, great.
Divided by 4.
So under the OMP, that estimated 65 decibel noise contour extended all the way from York Road out into North Prospect Avenue. And you can see that it actually extends quite a ways out into Cook County as well, off the northern runways. So that's how the sound insulation program essentially calculated those homes that needed to be insulated and mitigated. On the next page shows you what has been insulated, mitigated so far to date. The sound insulation program began in 1995 with a pilot program. Has had quite a number of different phases over the course of the 25 years. So roughly 3,600 homes in DuPage County have been insulated so far. If you notice amongst those green dots that are there on that page, there are a few yellow dots, and those are potentially eligible properties that have never been actually mitigated or insulated to date. So there are quite a number of properties that still are probably eligible for improvement under the old one.
Just a question, why would somebody not be eligible, like in this area?
So they may not be eligible because if they're commercial properties, they're not insulating commercial properties. They are insulating homes, schools, public offices.
That makes sense, thank you.
Next page, please. Fast forward here to 2020, under the manual administration, they created the new O'Hare 21 terminal area program. And with that, they were required to then produce a new environmental assessment, which went through the process, a modeling process as they did under the OMP for the noise contours. Those that environmental assessment basically was commented on by this department and has been commented on by by various communities throughout the area. What we do know is that 2 weeks ago, or roughly 2 weeks ago, the O'Hare Noise Compatibility Commission approved the new noise contours, which you will now see on the next. Sorry, skip a couple pages. And that new noise contour actually shows how far out to the west it actually 65 decibel contour goes, which extends now all the way almost over to I-290 extension in Itasca. Under that particular noise contour, roughly 646 homes and 30 apartment buildings would now be eligible for noise mitigation or insulation. Unfortunately, because of the reauthorization or the authorization of the FAA, those particular homes aren't eligible until a reauthorization proceeds. So when the next reauthorization occurs, if the money is available, those homes will become eligible for insulation. What's interesting is even beyond that, roughly another 1,000 homes and apartments are within a quarter mile of that 65 decibel level in Itasca and Wooddale. So there are other considerations as well. I think we need to continue to talk with CDA about that, make our presence felt and our opinions known that we need to extend that money the next 5-10 years. Yes, sure.
So just out of curiosity, John, do we know how much it costs to have this sound mitigation?
It varies.
Is it windows that were-
It varies. I mean, it could be attic insulation, could be windows, doors, all sorts of different types of insulation. I know a number of homes that had their full window set replaced. So it can be quite expensive.
So with that sound and insulation, are there, I'm just thinking some of my neighbors' houses need a lot of stuff replaced, not just windows. So if you're replacing windows and the wall's already falling apart, what do you do in the situation where the house is kind of already in bad shape?
Well, I know that the sound insulation program actually has some stipulations, within it about what they will not do. I think that's part of the evaluation process. There is a multi-step process that they go through. You can call them up and they'll come out and take a look at the home and let you know what they can't do. So,
Really good question. What is an RSIP? Is that record of
residential sound insulation program.
Okay, any other questions for John? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Really appreciate it. Okay, next, any other new business?
We need to do executive session, or since I know they got another committee and
Yeah, the data's the rest of stuff.
yeah, can we wait till next meeting possibly, or no? Is it?
It would be fast. It's the semi-annual review. It generally takes
Let's just review.
three minutes. It's up to you.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead with the deposition of executive session minutes. So I need everyone who is not part of the committee to clear the room, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I'd like to move that we go into executive session. I have a second. All in favor?
You want it? You want to keep it?
And we're going into executive session under open meeting act 5 ILCS.
Oh, I'm sorry.
22C 21.
Semi-annual review. Second. May I have all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I was moved and seconded. We need a roll.
Quick roll call. I can hand out the sheet.
We need a roll.
Chaplin,
Here, what am I voting on now?
Going
Aye.
executive.
Aye, aye, aye. Yes, I got a little confused.
giving up your seat.
Chaplin.
Aye.
Covert.
Aye.
Evans.
Aye.
Ozog.
Aye.
Tornatori.
Aye.
And Zay.
Aye.
Okay, so I now move that the committee continues confidentiality for the minutes
If
of
we could
seven.
first, we have to do
Oh,
a
I'm
roll
sorry.
call just to establish quorum again, just a quick roll
Oh,
call.
okay,
Chaplin.
Here.
Covert.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Ozog.
here.
Tornatori.
Here.
And Zay.
Okay.
Now, I'd like to move that the committee finds the need for confidentiality still exists
Second.
as to all of the 7:21:22 and 10:4:22 minutes and verbatim recordings thereof, and those minutes should be not be released. The committee finds the need for confidentiality no longer exists as to the 12:4:18 and 10:18:22 minutes. I will take a motion to release the minutes of 12:4:18 and 10:18:22. We have a motion?
Second.
And
Okay,
this can be voice vote.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
I'll
and
take your
may
minutes.
I move to adjourn this transportation committee meeting?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right.